Thanks for staying with ENC now this afternoon. All TVET colleges could be shut down across the country on Wednesday. That's if Nehawu gets its way. The National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union isn't happy about wages and corruption at TVETs. The union also says agreements weren't implemented following the migration from municipalities to the Department of Higher Education and Training. The union wants the department's Director General to resign as a result. Nehawu's Kaya Klaba joins us to tell us more on this particular shutdown. What exactly does this shutdown entail, or what would it entail?
Well, in the country, we're organizing in all the 50 TVET colleges and more than 320 different campuses. So when the strike eventually starts on Wednesday, which is the 13th of February, what it means is that there won't be any teaching or schooling that will be taking place. So it means that it's a total shutdown in all the colleges throughout the country. It's not a situation we would want because it's the start of the academic year, but we're forced that we take this route because we were forced by the intransigence of the employer, which is the Department of Higher Education and Training. These issues emanate back as far back as 2015, and we feel that workers have been patient enough and their patience has run out, and it's time now that we put proactive actions into place to ensure that the workers' demands are attended to and that the department begins to take workers' demands seriously and that they accede to these demands.
On the issues of wages, what do you want?
Well, basically, when the migration took place, it meant that TVET lecturers would then be counted as public servants, which means that their grades would be much higher. So what it means now is that they are not paid as their public servants counterparts, and their salaries remain stagnant, so they're not growing. And of course, they don't get some of the benefits that they're entitled to, like UIF, medical aid, and everything else. So basically, they are being robbed, so their condition of services are compromised. So would want that the department fix this as a matter of urgency, because of course not only does it impact on them but also their families, because it means they can't afford some of the things, and the fact that they are on contracts, they are not hired on a permanent basis, and from time to time the TVETs they would cancel those contracts without any reason. So that also impacts on the functionality of those colleges.
When you say that they're on contracts, are you speaking now about all lecturers at TVET colleges, or is this just some of your members?
Well, mostly of them, because remember, it's always been a norm in the country that everyone doesn't take seriously the TVET sector. Everyone prioritizes or takes seriously universities. So the way they're being treated, it's not a good way of treating the sector. So everyone else would look up to universities. So we feel that the department has really neglected the sector, and even students sometimes most don't want to go to TVET colleges, preferring universities. Hence, we've taken a decision that would want the Director General to be relieved of his duties, because we feel that he's been at the center of perpetrating this stigma and these problems, because we feel that TVET colleges have a space in the South African education system, and that many students can go there and be educated.
I'm curious about whether or not you've explored any action, particularly with the Labour Department, because as far as I understand, if somebody has been within employ and has a contract for over 3 months, this person should then be absorbed as a permanent worker.
Well, we've been raising these issues, like I said, since 2015. And in 2017, we had a march that was directed to the Department of Higher Education and Training. And the minister at that time was Minister Hlengiwe Mkhize. And of course, she was reshuffled, and Comrade Naledi Pandor was then the minister, which we subsequently forwarded the memorandum of demands, and nothing was done. Hence, we've taken this decision to say that we want to go on strike in order to twist the arm of the employer. Of course, then would involve everyone else to try and ensure that these issues are resolved as soon as possible so that the culture of learning can take place in all the TVET colleges.
As far as corruption is concerned, maybe very briefly detail some of the corruption which you say has been taking place.
Well, that will speak to issues of human resources, issues of procurement, because the department is not really hands-on. So the principals who are in charge of these schools, they just run their own spaza shop. They hire people as they want, they fire people as they want, and they flout procurement policies. So most of the money there is lost and it's not channeled into ensuring that the infrastructure is proper, the study material is proper, and that everything that needs to be done in order to ensure that there's a conducive learning environment is there.
So if I hear you correctly, and I remember there was an intentional statement a few years back, especially under Bladen Zamande when he was still the Minister of Higher Education and Training, where government has said they were going to intentionally be pumping more resources and giving more attention to TVET colleges because of their importance in, skilling artisans and people that will really activate different parts of the economy. So are you saying that in fact has not taken place and TVET colleges are now more neglected than they were before?
Precisely. You find that in most cases the infrastructure is degenerated and the classes are not taking place in a conducive learning environment. But it's one thing also, want to stress this point, that it's one thing to pump resources into a non-functioning structure where there's no framework that would guide the TVET colleges. So you need to ensure that you build it structurally so that when you pump the resources into it, it will be channeled into proper places. So when you just pump money into it, it ends up lining the pockets of the greedy without really assisting the poor students from working.
Do you have support? Do you have support from the students at TVET colleges?
Yes. Remember, there's an organization called SAFETA, which is the SRCs of all the TVET colleges. They are part of our action. Of course, they'll be raising some of their issues that pertains to their problems in the TVET colleges. But over and above that, we've had a meeting on the 23rd of January with the YCL and SASCO, who are busy currently with their Right to Learn campaign. So this is part also of ensuring not only are we going to only focus solely on workers' issues, but the issue of students. Because remember, in the long run, these are our children. These are future leaders of this country who will ultimately have to come back and contribute to the economy of this country. So we have to ensure that they learn in a proper environment and that ultimately they then come back and grow the economy of this country and ensure that we prosper as a nation.
All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on this particular story and see how things unfold next week. We'll also try and speak to the Department of Higher Education and Training just to hear their position on this matter concerning a shutdown planned at TVET colleges across the country, including lecturers and students next week.